Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, lovely people. I am so excited about today's interview because Brad and I had a few conversations behind the scenes already. And this is a really, really special connection. And I cannot wait to delve into your story, Brad. So, without further ado, would you do us the honor to introduce yourself to our audience before we go into your story? Welcome.
Oh, thanks, Maria. It's so nice to meet everyone. I'm Brad Wolfe. I'm here in San Francisco. Um, yeah, I'm a musician and also a founder of an organization called Reimagine that
Mm,
helps people face hard parts of life and transmute our pain into possibility, action, growth, meaning, and creativity.
yeah. When I received a shout out, hey, I've got this amazing person for you. You need to interview him. I read through your story. I had a look at your website. I did touch on some parts of your music, and I wanted to have a chat with you before we went live because I was so touched by your story. It's really, really beautiful, and I can't wait to get into it. So why don't we just, because we have about half an hour, which is never a lot of time to delve into a story, and with your story there's so much that comes with it, and where you went through this path of reimagining, which I also can't wait to get to. So let's start with your story, Brad. What is your connection with grief? Why are we here? Can you share a little bit about your life, your background, so our audience can get a feel for you?
Sure. No, thanks so much. I mean, I think the work I'm doing now is more of a direct result of a particular loss that I went through, as well as this story behind that. You know, it all accumulates, right? Um,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
but you know, when I was in my late teens, I there was someone that I cared for very much. Her name was Sara, and I had just shared my feelings for her. In fact, I'd grown up with her, and 2 weeks thereafter, she shared with me that she had been diagnosed with a rare form of pediatric cancer, and
Mm,
flew back home where we're from in the Bay Area in the United States, and I ended up, you know, I'm a musician, as I mentioned, and I didn't know how to show up for somebody in facing their own mortality, like
sure.
Sara was, and but you know, no one teaches us how to do that. And in fact,
I just wanted to
no,
say,
maybe
yeah.
I'll share more later, perhaps. But
Mm,
because I grew up with grandparents that were prisoners in Auschwitz in World War II and had
mm,
gone through some of the most horrific things that you can imagine. I was in fact quite afraid of deathy like things.
yeah.
Yet, thank God I had this guitar because bringing that to her bedside for the next 2 years and playing music for Sara and writing songs for Sara, and people, you know, people talk about the power of music, but I did not
Mm,
fully grasp that beyond a cliche until I was playing music for her and saw the way that the music affected her physical symptoms. And
yeah.
then honestly, for me, as this whole journey progressed, seeing the outlet that I had for my own pain, it was just very symbiotic
Mm,
um,
yeah. I
situation that has really stayed with me.
I just want to say thank you so much for sharing this because this is such a raw but also really beautiful story. And one of the things why it touched me so deeply and why I was so looking forward to having this conversation with you today is because this is all in my DNA as well. You know, like this is my background. I come from Austria, so Auschwitz, the whole story that the entire world knows about is so deep in my DNA because my grandparents, I can't say they were in Auschwitz, so they were very, very lucky that they were spared. But when you grow up in a history that is actually experienced and not just learned about through textbook, you feel it differently. You are differently connected. I delved very deep into a topic that is epigenetics, that is very close to my heart. because everything that our generations, in particular the third and fourth generation before us, has experienced becomes our DNA. It's their cell memory becomes our DNA. When I had these discussions, I want to bring this story in very, very quickly, and I'll bring it back to you in a minute, because my husband and I had this discussion around history quite often. He liked history, he loved it, and he every now and then would watch a movie that is so much more than just a movie to me. It triggered me so deeply, and we discussed that in length. That when he watches a movie that contains anything around that time, it triggers me physically. I can feel it, and I could never understand it until I learned about epigenetics and why that is the case. So, having your grandmother actually live through that, and you now expressing that in such a way that you are not only helping a friend who's going through her stages, but also touch the entire world through your music and everything you do. That is why I was so drawn to your story. So um yeah, I want to bring it back to you and Sarah, because I can so understand what this music would do for her in that moment, or would have done for her in that moment. Did you write that for her? Did you just come and play? Can you tell us a little bit about
Um,
that background?
no, I mean, I first of all, I totally, connect with what you're sharing about epigenetics, and just to say, only more recently, my grandmother, she passed away at 102, only more
Wow.
recently, but um, my grandfather passed away when I was a young, kind of a young person. Some of my first memories, and his job in the Holocaust was to carry bodies to and from the gas chambers. And it's like, I only as an adult have really, I usually, because I guess I grew up with my grandma, and I connected my own story to her. But now as I've gotten older and thought about more empathically my grandfather's job and how horrific that must have been, and all the souls that he had to bear witness to, and then I think about, the work that I'm involved in now is about grief and is about loss and is about transmuting our pain in healthy ways. And I think, wow,
Incredible.
I think this is must be this epigenetics. And it's like, I don't know what period of time you're thinking about in history for these movies, but I
Mm,
I cannot watch any film, really, any World War, starting in World War I,
yeah,
once kind of like automatic weapons started entering the equation. I have a hard time with history that delves into those. I think it feels
same.
so close to like what feels so real to me. It doesn't. I don't want to spend my time fictionally
Yeah.
delving into something that's already so painful. Um,
I agree
um,
wholeheartedly. I feel the exact same. And for me, it is also World War I, World War II, because my grandfather, I never met my grandfather from my father's side, but from my mother's side, he fought in both. He was in World War I and II. And I just, I have so many stories growing up, but one story that always stuck with me that I was so proud of, even as a young child, I remember that, was that he told us that he always aimed to miss. He said he never wanted to kill anyone. He went to war and always aimed to miss when he had to shoot. And that to me, it made him a real hero. I really thought you're the real hero in my eyes, because you went to war uh, doing what you had to do, but not to that extent. He stopped right there. He said, "I can't do this. I can't do this." And having, like he had 9 children. I don't know at that stage. I know in World War II, his wife, my grandmother, was home pregnant with a fifth child. So it's, yeah. So I can fully relate. I know that we are very much on the same page when it comes to not being able to watch anything, because to us it's so much more than just history. It's in our DNA. We know these stories from our own grandparents.
exactly. So
It's
yeah, and
horrific.
so
Yeah.
it is. But in terms of Sarah, to answer your question, I mean,
Mm,
so my grandfather, um, he played the mandolin, and I
mm.
think that must have been. Now I have his mandolin, is
Oh,
my one of my
wow.
prized possessions, and it must be.
Mm,
I think that must have been how he processed his experience. So when Sarah got sick, it was so natural for me, honestly. I'd already been processing my life through music, but just hadn't had something I never seen somebody go through an end of life journey before,
Mm.
and so this was kind of like the stakes were in some ways higher,
Yeah.
but you know, it's like what can you do? And for me, expressing in that way, I wrote this song called "Sarah's Got a Sunbeam" that came to me, and it was a song about the light that she was providing, the inspiration she was giving me, and also kind of a song of hope for her, hoping that uh, that by sharing a song that talked about some of her dreams, that would somehow give her more of whatever was necessary and I've kind of learned more about this. I was going to say to keep going when that's not always the goal of these
Mm.
situations,
Yeah.
but to at least find some comfort and know that she was really profoundly impacting people, and she was going to be remembered and honored through at least this song, um, now and forever.
Yeah. I think I want to highlight something that I'm so grateful for that you said that, the keep going is not always the goal. And I think that is such an important piece for people to find peace on their journey home. And there are so many people that don't understand that part because they haven't gone through it or not experienced it. And there would be a lot of people sort of pushing till the end, going like, keep going, you've got this. And we all know that this person doesn't, they're on their way home. And to understand that and to have the power to hold space for that transition rather than trying to avoid something that's unavoidable. There is so much love and peace in that. And I think it's just beautiful the way you just said that, it's not always the goal. Wow. I would like to hear a little bit more about your grandmother. 102 is incredible with her history, with everything that she has experienced. What a life. Like, I'm in awe, and I would like to hear a little bit more. Can you share with our audience a little bit more about your grandmother? What are your favorite memories
Mm.
of her?
I mean, my grandmother just, it's funny, to your point about your grandfather, but in my mind, she's a hero just by surviving. I mean, the
Mm.
fact is, it's like
Absolutely.
she knew too. It's just, there's so much luck and happenstance and all kinds of stories that
Mm.
allowed her to survive. But I think what also made her a hero to me is that she was able to live with love in her heart after something so horrific. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, basically, her mom, when they were taken to the camps, I mean, even before then, when they were in the ghetto, her father died of tuberculosis. They were only handed like a piece of bread and coffee grinds each day, and he died of tuberculosis. My grandmother was the oldest daughter that was home at that time, and like snuck out in the night under the watchful eye of these like light spotlights
Mhm. Yeah.
with her own father in a wheelbarrow to bury him, because otherwise you couldn't have a proper burial. And then when she was taken to Auschwitz, they immediately took a shovel and they hit her mom over her head. And when she asked them where her mom was, they pointed to the smoke over the gas chambers and said, "That's where your mom is now." And so it's like these are the stories these little stories of extreme suffering. But my grandma was also very beautiful. She was 19, and a guard would sneak her um, a sandwich that found her attractive. A guard would sneak her a sandwich each day and hide it in this drawer for her. And
Yeah.
she would get the sandwich, but instead of eating the sandwich, here she was starving. She would divide the sandwich into 18 pieces, one for each woman in her bunk, and they each had a morsel of the sandwich. And just
Wow.
like thinking about what it means to, um, you know, not wait to care for other people, And then to ultimately, she had a message that she wanted to impart on me, which is that we should be tolerant of other religions and other races, because we're here on this earth for a short while only. That out of our own impermanence, uh, that there's some palpable reason to treat each other with love and kindness. I mean, that message has is really the essence, I think, of what I was already coming to on my own, but I don't really
Mm.
think it was on my own. I think, it's her spirit really living through me, and what I'm, supposed to be trying to do with my life is live that message out
Yeah.
for her and for other people.
I can feel how deeply this touches me, the stories that you tell about your grandmother, the sharing of the little that she had. I hear so many stories about that. I remember my own grandmother sharing a story about why she started reading when she ate. And she said because all they had was like a handful of peas, and there were literally like these little nuggets all over it because they were just rotten. And she would read so she wouldn't see what she was eating. And as a child, I was so disgusted. I literally felt like I'm going to throw up while I was listening to her story. But it was her reality. She lived through that, and uh, till to this day, I get so emotional just thinking about it. And then listening to your grandmother's story, I think it is so unimaginable for us these days because we live in such abundance, and yet sometimes we don't even realize how abundant we are, how lucky we are, how safe we are compared to what they lived through. And yes, we have other things to worry about these days, but and I always say, like, healing doesn't start with comparison, but what is the message that we carry forward, And your grandmother left you with such a beautiful message. It's kindness, This is really what we all need more of. And what you do with it, Brad, like I can only imagine how freaking proud she would be of you, both your grandparents and your parents probably as well. So I love that we talk about your grandparents though, because with the whole topic of epigenetics, it really is the most important generation in our life. For that is the third generation and the fourth, but that's the main focus is always on the third generation. That's where we take most from when we live, when we express ourselves, when we turn out with whatever fears and hopes and dreams we have. A lot of them come from this third generation. So I think it's just beautiful what your grandmother has instilled in you with the strength, with the belief she had and made it, she proved that you can live through the most horrific things when you believe in kindness. And as you said, it takes a lot of luck as well to get through this, to fall through the cracks of Auschwitz. That's what I want to say. It's incredible. This is really heavy. Tell us about how you went through your own grief, through the stories of your grandmother, your grandfather, the story with Sarah. What led you to do what you do today? So the music piece is one thing. You started writing music. Was that already before Sarah? Was that reinforced through Sarah? Tell us about that journey, and then I want to hear about Reimagine as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think trying to process these, trying to figure out, I don't know if it's because of my this story or my own proclivity, or just this is what we all deal with. It's like I feel like I learned at a very early age that our minds can be very, very powerful, and they
Mm,
can really dictate how we feel.
yeah.
And it's been a struggle slash opportunity slash journey to try to figure out how to kind of like manage my own mind,
Hmm.
and making decisions about like what do I want to spend my time consuming in terms of media, for
Mm,
example, or what do I want to spend my time doing, and I think the music and really, and I think there's now research that I've delved into to back this up, but acts of service in the area of our pain turns out to be one of the surest fire ways to to develop what's called post-traumatic growth. And I've gone pretty deep into science
Mhm.
around this, but the idea that after something hard, it doesn't take away the pain, but you can end up finding more appreciation for life,
Mm.
more resilience, better relationships, deeper gratitude, a deeper sense of purpose. That happens to some people after something hard. When the question I ask is why, and one of the answers, it turns out, is acts of service. And I see creativity as an act of service, honestly, because it's something that,
Mm.
especially if you do it for
I
others
love
too,
that.
if you're
I
doing
never
it,
thought about it that way. Yeah.
well, if you're doing it
Sorry.
for, it's anything I think that we can do that there's there's things that are like volunteering or
Mm.
like creativity that you can do that end up having a healing effect for others and yourself.
Mhm.
And so seeing how the way my music impacted Sarah, or now, a lot more people have heard my music over the years. It heals me. I don't need anyone to benefit from it, and I feel great. But then the fact that there's a symbiotic thing, it made me think, well, um, what else might be like that? What other modalities, what other ways might we have of channeling our pain and responding to pain in these ways that I feel are, I mean, what's healthier than that? Something that benefits you and other people at the same time. I
Mm.
mean, why why
Beautiful.
why isn't that our medicine? And
Yeah.
so, both through my music, I think a lot of that is the message about through the music. It's trying
Mm.
to me an embodiment of taking things in my life that breakups or losses. And in fact, I did play music before Sarah. I had a friend named Don that ended up, he actually died in a car accident. And when I was in
Mm.
high school, and I was on a plane, when and I started crying on this plane. I was a kid. I was watching this really funny, happy movie on the plane, and I turned to my mom. I said, "I don't understand why I'm crying." And then when I got to the where we were headed, there was a voicemail on my machine and said Don had gotten in this car accident and was in a coma, and I ended up. He was a musician,
Mm.
and um, I ended up writing a song to kind of process that experience. And just as a quick aside, what's so crazy is years later after he died, I was at a bookstore and I had just had a dream the night before about him, and that I was in a band with Don. He and I were in a band
Mm.
together in my dream.
Mhm.
And I looked down at the bookstore. I was on the second floor, and I look, and I haven't seen her for maybe 8 years. There's his mom in the front row of this random bookstore, and I'm like, I'm supposed to tell her, I guess, about this dream. So I ran
Mhm.
down and I told her about the dream. That happened maybe now 20 years ago.
Mhm.
4 days ago, I get a call from this guy that I was in a band with in high school, and he's like, Brad, I'm calling to tell you something. I had a dream the other night about Dawn, who died when we were freshmen in high school, mind you. This was
Yeah.
like he's like, I had a dream about Dawn, and we were all in a band together.
Oh,
And
wow.
I didn't think I would. I don't know why, but I felt like I was supposed to like call you and tell you this. And it's
Yeah.
like, and then I told him this whole story, and
No
it's just like
way.
so. Now I'm telling you, it's
I love it. I
it's
love it so
it's
much.
it's literally mind-boggling. I feel like when you open
Mm.
your heart to kind of the creativity and to um, kind of not shying away from the pain and leaning
Mhm.
into it through and channeling it, there's like all these magical things that happen that make you feel like you're part of something bigger.
Yeah. I love this and what you just said, like when you shared a story and then you shared it with him and then you share it with me. And it's just so beautiful because for me, there is this magic around sharing circles and whether that happens one on one with a friend or with a smaller or bigger group, it always takes one to start, and as soon as one person starts their story, then another person goes like, oh my God, I had the same dream, or I experienced that too, or hey, I experienced that differently, and this is my story. But as soon as one person stands up or speaks up, it is that unspoken permission for others to do the same, which I find so beautiful from Marianne Williamson's poem, Our Deepest Fear. And that is, giving unconscious permission to others to do the same, to step up for something, to share a story. And I think when you just said that, it really landed so nicely with me. Creativity is an act of service if you use it for other people around you. You share your music now, and if it did that thing for you and for Sarah, like what would it do for other people? There's always that seed that is planted in people's hearts, or that initiation that happens when you feel the music. And um, I had a really rough day last week, and I felt like I had nothing in me. And what I did was I played the song Jerusalem. You know that song? I love it so much. And I just got up in my living room and I danced the entire song. I just felt like I needed to move whatever it was through my body. And what better way is there than dancing? Like I just put the music on, dance, it shifts your state. And I felt so much better afterwards. So yeah, I love that you share your music now, because I can only imagine what it does for other people. Let me check the time. We've got about, yeah, a few minutes left. I really want to share about Reimagine, because that is another thing that you shared with me that touched me so deeply. What do you do with Reimagine? How did it start, and how can people find more about it?
Sure. I mean, Reimagine really is this. It's instead of just music being the only vehicle, there's
Mm,
thousands of vehicles for transmuting our pain.
mm,
Whether that's sharing our own story, which is we're all creative and we all have a story to share about our true realities, and that's one of the opportunities on this platform. We have it's a social platform that we've built, and also on top of it, it's a nonprofit organization, hundreds and hundreds of free events and resources that are happening all the time, where people are joining in community, sharing stories, supporting one another toward their dreams of channeling their own pain. It's like, how do we respond to a serious illness? How do we respond to a loss? How do we respond to turning on the news and being overwhelmed? People are coming together as part of this community, and with support and guidance, gently creating something beautiful for themselves and often for others. It's sometimes very, very bite sized, sometimes pretty large
mm,
scale. It can be
mm,
as simple as an act of self care, sleeping in, making, there's a woman I just found out about today on the platform who lost her husband,
mm.
and and she's and she loves to cook, but after the death of her husband, it was it was hard for her to find that joy again. It was there's something triggering about it because she loved to cook for him. Now on the platform every week, she's cooking one recipe that he loved and sharing it with other
I love
people
this.
in her network. And these are the kinds of projects that are getting
Mm,
manifested at Reimagine. And so at letsreimagine.org, you can find opportunities to connect with about 250,000 other people that we've had the privilege of connecting with and coming through our midst on their own journeys of
mm,
transmuting pain into purpose and grief into growth.
yeah. Oh, I love this. I know, like we caught up, 2 weeks ago or something to talk about a Reimagine, and I was instantly so touched by what you do, because it's so needed. Like just that woman cooking now and sharing her recipes. How beautiful is that? Because there are probably a lot of other people out there, and maybe even a lot of other widows out there who might feel something similar and who get inspired to do something. It's always that inspiration that comes through that, that planting the seed, planting those seeds of kindness, of hope, of love, of healing in everyone's heart. And what more beautiful way is there than doing that through music, through community, through kindness? And I loved our conversation so much. I don't want it to end right here. So I'm going to just say, I honestly think there will be a part two of this conversation where we might delve a little bit deeper in the work that Reimagine does. And maybe in part two, we might get a little hint of music appreciation in there as well. Brad, I'm so grateful for you, for everything that you do, for everything. who you have become through your beautiful DNA. And is there anything that you would like to share while we wrap this up? I always feel like, if you only take one thing away from this podcast, what would you like that to be for our audience?
I mean, I feel like your audience is so lucky to be in community with you. I feel like you're a
Oh,
really remarkable
thank you.
person, and I feel like
Thank you.
if they're tuning into something like this, I feel like they must be amazing as well. And so what you're building here is just really really wonderful, and I feel grateful to kind of be part of it with you.
Thank you so much for your kindness. Thank you so much for being here. And everybody listening to this, if this touches your heart just as much as it just did mine, please hit the subscribe button for our weekly updates on Unsilenced Grief. My heart is so full. I just want to thank you again, Brad. This is Brad and Marie signing off. Bye for now.